Hey guys, welcome back to Chaos Core Tech. My name's Garrett, and today we are going to be printing Buzz Lightyear. Now, if you didn't see part 1 where I did all the modeling, boom, right up there. And as I mentioned, this is going to be a multi-material print. We're actually going to be using the palette, so let's get started.
Well, we're not off to a good start. So I had all of the filament and everything loaded up. By the way, I love seeing 4 spools of the correct colors getting ready to do their job. It just one of the things that makes me happy about multi-material printing. But I'm still kind of getting used to the palette and how things need to be sliced on there because it is a little bit of a process. So this one was my fault. As you can see, these areas here were they're kind of doubled up on supports, and I went back through the settings and I definitely told Simplify to do that. I just didn't know that it would do that. So let's give it another shot.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently. That's okay. Things are going to be okay.
Okay, attempt number 2. Looks like it went pretty well to you, doesn't it? Yeah, that's fun. Okay, 3rd time's the charm.
3 days later.
So this is where I'm at. Things are going really well, and I can already hear you guys asking, is Buzz done yet?
No, Your Honor. There's no settlement.
All around me are familiar faces.
Well guys, this is ridiculous. I can honestly say this is the worst time I've ever had trying to get something to print. And I know what most of you are thinking. You're thinking it's multi-material, so that's making it harder. While I'm sure that's true to some degree, that's actually not what the issue is here. Almost all of it has been the Robo. The frickin' Robo. I've actually only had one piece fail due to a color swap, which is normally the most common failure you get with multicolor prints, is it can't swap the colors properly and therefore jams, whatever, and doesn't work out. So I had one tiny little piece. See that? Tiny little piece. And there were a couple that were due to me not knowing how to slice things properly for the palette. I've only done a couple prints using the palette so far, so I was still kind of getting my feet wet. So there are a couple in here that were my fault. Like this bundle of supports here, that one was my fault. And there are a couple pieces that aren't up here that were also my fault. But the vast majority of these were due to the Robo R2 not being a good printer. Now, if you follow me on Twitter or have watched any Twitch streams in the past, you know my opinion on the Robo R2. I'm not going to get into it too much because it would just be a lot of negative, but I'm just going to show you some of the things that happened with the R2 because it's kind of mind-blowing, honestly. So we have the palette hooked up to our Robo R2. They advertise it like that. I think they even sell a bundle like that. But after this, I can honestly say it's a bad idea. Palette is a good idea. Hook it up to a different printer. Because first of all, we're on our 3rd Robo R2, by the way. We bought the Robo R2 with our own money. Just throwing it out there so it's not like a review unit or anything like that. But this was one of the more common issues. The bed. We've had a different type of bed with each machine, and some of them work okay, some of them don't. This one does not. As you can see, do you see how warped this is? Like that. This is how it printed. That was the bottom. That's not okay. Do you see this? Tape. We just put it on a paper towel. The paper towel wasn't there, but there's tape and glue. We literally taped down the purge tower, used glue, and it still warped up. That's insane. We tried everything. We tried magic glue, we tried literal glue, tried tape. Now I realize these purge towers are pretty thick. They're a solid chunk of plastic, and they have very square corners, so they're prone to warping. I understand that. As you can see, well, you probably can't see it because it's so tiny, but there's one little corner that started to warp up over here, and the nozzle knocked into it, setting the whole thing off so you can see there's frilly stuff over here. So that one was out. Similar issue here. Same thing happened. Also tried to tape this down. Did not work. So the biggest issue, and the issue for 90% of the things over here, was things not sticking to the bed. Now, we actually found out that it was Robo's auto leveling. Credit goes to Chelsea for this one, she figured it out, but she actually turned off the auto leveling, leveled the bed herself, and then things stuck perfectly. I can't express to you how frustrated that makes me. We ended up having to go back and buy 3 more spools of this stuff, because as you can see, there was a lot of green and white here. I ran out of those and I was getting close on purple. So we went back and ordered more filament just because our $1,500 printer can't auto level itself. But believe it or not, this is not the worst one. Up until this point, I was still giving the Robo a chance. This next issue made me completely lose faith in it, and I had already regretted buying this, but this one was sort of the final nail in the coffin, if you know what I mean. So as you can see here, we've got some Buzz legs. And they look pretty nice, right? But they cut off right at the very end. There was seriously maybe 15 more minutes on this print. And this was probably a 10-hour print, okay? Because you've got this purge tower here, right? And look at that, there's barely even any warping on that. We had got that situation worked out because we turned off their crappy auto leveling. But you may notice this little mess over here, and I will put a close-up of this. Get this, so the Robo R2 does not have an SD card port. This one just has a USB port, and it comes with a USB drive. This is not the one it came with, this is the one we have. So one would assume you could put G-code on this, stick it in, print it. And that's what we did for a very long time. But we had actually had this issue in the past, but we weren't able to nail it down. So what happens is at some point, the printer decides to dive bomb into the bed, and actually the bed comes up. So the bed decided to dive bomb the nozzle. So it'll just be going in a print, and all of a sudden the nozzle will just drag through a part of the print, get stuck, and make horrible, horrible grinding noises. I'm sure doing lots of damage to the belts and rods. So we've actually had this is the 3rd time this has happened. The first time we had no idea what happened. I had just happened to come back inside, heard a horrible noise, went in and stopped it, didn't know what happened. Thought that maybe, at that point I thought that maybe the G-code got corrupted somehow because the laptop that we were using was kind of an old crappy laptop, so I attributed it to that. Second time it happened, we contacted Robo. They told us the USB drive might be faulty, so we swapped to a new USB drive. This one I actually sliced on my nice computer up here. I used a brand new USB drive, and it happened again. It was almost done, and the nozzle just dive bombed it. And I happened to be watching while this happened. And sure enough, the bed just started going up, the nozzle went in there. So I pulled the G-code off of the USB drive. And sure enough, when I stepped back through it, right about there, it decided that it needed to print something down in the middle of this. So at this point, we've used different computers, different USB sticks. This is a different Robo, actually, than the first time that it happened. And I've used 2 different slicers in that process. So what we determined is that the Robo is literally rewriting the G-code, because I had that file saved. Because when I export my G-code, I usually save it locally, then copy that file to the USB drive. And so I actually went back and looked at the original G-code, perfectly fine. But somehow the Robo corrupted it, and actually rewrote the corrupted file to the USB port. So we told Robo this, and basically the response that we got is that you're not supposed to use USB drives like that. We were told that we should upload the files through Octoprint. And since we started uploading through Octoprint, things seem to be working out. We haven't had any more issues like this. But I can't be the only one who is just slightly baffled by all this. Now, I wasn't going to say anything originally, because I have talked about this quite extensively on Twitter and with the Robo guys. And I'm really not looking to bash a company just for the sake of bashing them. I've noticed in the 3D printing community sometimes we can kind of form mobs and go after companies that have done something wrong. Which I'm all for calling companies out, but the mob mentality is kind of a lot. So I'm not looking to send any hate Robos way or anything like that. Just if you are considering buying an R2, don't. Just don't. There are better printers for a lot less. So if that's what I can leave you with, take that please. But On the good side, we have had some successful prints. And it's looking pretty good. We've got the full torso, basically. So that's looking nice. We've got the underneath. I haven't gotten the head yet. I've still got the backpack and wings to do. And then the legs as well. So I would say I'm about half done. And also on the good side, I think these filament colors are just about perfect. But in part 3, where I actually finish up this project, I will talk about what filaments we used, because the filament has been great. Well, I guess that's it for this video. This was my first truly cursed print. You know, I've had bad luck in the past, had some pretty big prints fail, but I've never had anything fail as consistently as this. And it's just crazy because it's not one particular thing. I mean, most of the fault lies with the robo messing up over and over again. But it just seems like everything that can possibly go wrong with this one did go wrong. So I'm going to keep hacking away at it, and I will try to have part 3 of this, hopefully the final part. This was supposed to be the final part of this video, but there will be a part 3 potentially next week, depending on how I can get this thing to print. But there will be a part 3 coming, and that'll be the final showcase of it. It just may not be next week. I might have to do another video next week, but we'll see. Because the palette's been rock solid this whole time, but now I'm getting some weird error on there that I gotta try and figure out, so who knows. And that's gonna be it for me, guys, so thank you for watching, and until next time, keep creating.